Hi, my name is Jamie Winship. I'm from Seattle, Washington in the US, and I'm talking about what I've discovered about the creative process or being creative. The premise that I'm going from is that the creative process is really innate in all of us. We're all made to be creators. We're co-creators with God at our highest level in our true self, and that's what we're all about. And so then the question is, what is the creative process? How does the creative process stay engaged? And we know it's about joyful relationships, that the human mind operates at its highest level when it's moving into relationship in the present tense with things and people and ideas around it. So it's always in this creative, beautiful process. How do we maintain that process? How do we grease that process along? And so my premise has been that the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus' opening remarks in the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, is in fact the creative process. So we're just walking through that. And each time we engage the creative process, we want to go all the way through this. And so I'm just doing in these short clips just each one of the Beatitudes so you can see how they build on each other in the creative endeavor. So step one was to get empty. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And so I'm emptying myself of my own kingdom, my own fear, guilt, and shame. I'm emptying myself of this. And I'm asking God to fill me with what He has for me, what's true about myself, God, the universe. That's the beginning point, to be empty of myself and filled with God's truth. And then that leads us into, in our emptiness, to long for or mourn for the things that God has made each one of us to long for and mourn for. So our creative process is a longing. It's like a longing to create this thing that's within us, for it to come out of us. And in that, Jesus says, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. There's a kind of comfort that comes from yearning and longing for this thing. If I yearn and long for something that's not true, there is no comfort in that. It's frustrating. It's fear-producing. So empty and then longing for what God has me long for, which leads me next to aligning my passions, becoming meek. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Now we're talking about not just the kingdom, not the broad kingdom, but actually the earth, like today, what's in front of you now. How do we inherit that as we're only filled with what God has filled us with, and we're yearning for what He has caused us to yearn for in the creative process? Now, all of my passions that have led me in different directions and have been fractured and misdirected are now brought into line and domesticated, and it's called being meek. They're all lined up, aimed in the right direction towards what I'm longing for in my true self, empty of the false. And in that place, in the meekness, we inherit the earth. It's quite a powerful promise. In that place of directing my passions, I begin to hunger and thirst for what's right, for what things as they ought to be in this beautiful place of my true creative self. And Jesus says, if you continue to hunger for that, you need to continue to hunger and thirst for that each day. Don't be satisfied. Don't get lazy. Hunger and thirst for that. And in that place, He will fill you each day. So it's this gorgeous promise. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for what is right, for they shall be filled with ideas and creativity. Which then leads to, interestingly, the need for mercy. That's really interesting. So as I'm hungering and I'm yearning and I'm pursuing this fullness that God is giving me, this comfort He's giving me, this hunger and thirst that He's giving me, I need to stay. I become even meek. Merciful. And merciful it has kind of two different ideas. One is just the idea of extending grace and mercy towards others. Blessed are the merciful, because you will receive mercy as a result. And then there's also this other idea that mercy comes from the idea of merc or mercantile, which is back and forth, exchange, trade. Whichever one you kind of land on, it's this idea of this back and forth open flow that you're in with everything around you. And it's built on mercy. And so you're extending mercy and receiving mercy. Then I've noticed in the creative process for myself even today when I was working on this project that I'm working on, that the person I'm working with, the other creator with me, like has an idea, I have an idea. Sometimes the ideas don't match up, and so there's this beautiful mercy back and forth. There's this give and take, this trade, this grace that allows the creative process to just continue. And then the other part of that is as I write something or try and produce something, and I go in the next day and I'm hungry and I'm yearning, and I look at it and I go, that's not really it. Mercy allows me to spend hours on something and go and then say, you know what, that's not really it. That's not as it ought to be. That's not right. And I can let it go. I don't have to, oh no, I've got to make this work. It's got to be like this. I can let it go. And I'm having mercy on myself. I'm having mercy on the process, and I'm just in this very beautiful flow. So that's a very important part of the process. Get empty. Get mournful, get sad for the right thing. Get gentle, get domesticated, focused. Hunger and thirst every day to do it, to complete the task, and God will fill you there. And stay merciful. Walk in mercy as you're at, so that the hunger and thirst has the element of mercy with it as you pursue this goal.